This is my all hype defense. So we're going to start on the defensive line. And as a defensive lineman myself, there was only one. Well, there was two names in consideration. The first one was Snacks Harrison, because every team made such a play to get him when he became a free agent, before the Seahawks eventually got him. He was never fit enough to make a game day roster, staying on the practice squad because he was not making the weight cuts that they wanted. They got fed up with him after a couple of games, cut him. Everyone went after him. The Packers picked him up, and then the Packers had the same trouble with him that season too. But he did not make my team. It was Jadeveon Clowney who was my all-hype defensive lineman. Look, same thing with Seattle. See it closely. Seattle gave up. This is kind of a trend. They gave up a lot for. Actually, they didn't. They didn't give up a lot for him. I don't believe they gave up a player and a pick, which actually wasn't too bad.
More than they should have there.
Probably more than they should have. Yeah. Now, to be fair, he wasn't the worst in his season with Seattle, but the money that he wanted did not warrant it from his production. But he got the money at the Titans, and everyone knows how bad the Titans were in the offense or the defensive line last year. And Clowney was part of that defensive line that just struggled so much. I don't know now. He's on the Bears. Have you seen that video of him tripping at practice last week? They were going through the tackling bags, and they're just trying to swipe right, swipe left, and then they go through because they're all in a line. And they obviously, because they're weighted, they fall to one side, to the side. But when he was going over them, he tripped over them and fell into the last one, which was such a Jadeveon Clowney move for the last couple of years. And don't get me wrong, like obviously everyone remembers the time in college and like his early years with the Texans, he was absolutely fantastic. I don't think he's quite a bust, but it just has not been great for the last couple of years for Clowney. Hopefully he finds some success in Cleveland with the Browns opposite, obviously, Miles and Garrett. And my linebackers, CJ Mosley, I couldn't pick anyone else on the linebacker position than CJ Mosley. This guy, right, in 2019, left the Ravens, right, after making, I think it was 4 or 5 Pro Bowls in his time there. Left the Ravens to sign a 5-year, $85 million contract with the Jets. Since 2019, CJ Mosley has played 2 games for the Jets. He injured himself in the second game of the 2019 season, and then, look, he opted out of last season because of COVID, but it still means he hasn't played. So he has been all hype. He hasn't lived up to it, and so much so that the Jets were trying to trade him back in March, and nobody would want to trade for him considering that contract. And Jets being Jets, probably how much they asked for as well. In the corner position, I went with Jeff Okudah. I know it was only his first year in the league with the Detroit Lions, but he was picked so high up in the draft. I think he was 9th overall pick, but he was roasted every single game he played that season. He had a PFF grade of 42.5. He had 1 interception all season. He had only 42 tackles in the whole year as well, for someone that was constantly targeted too. So, it really was a tough rookie season for him. A steep learning curve. I hope he can come back next season and improve, obviously, with a new coaching set up there at Detroit too. So, because everyone is all well aware, I'm sure, of how bad it got under Matt Patricia at times in Detroit. And moving on to our safety, Jonathan Abram. I've had my eye on Jonathan Abram since the Hard Knocks season featuring the Raiders, because that was the first year I really started paying attention to watching Hard Knocks. Previous years I could take it or leave it, but I followed this week and week, and he was the character. He was the guy that was like, always on camera, the bubbly personality and stuff like that. Really had a lot of confidence in himself. And we talked about Jamal Adams' issues in coverage as a safety. This guy is worse, and he doesn't have the sacks or like the blitzing ability to back it up. He's a guy he's one of those guys, like we talked about PFF grade for Jeff Okudah. Jonathan Abram's PFF grade last year was 35.3, which is absolutely awful. He is constantly getting injured as well because he doesn't know how to tackle. He's had a few shoulder injuries in his time in college and in the NFL because he leads with his shoulder the whole time and it keeps getting smashed to bits. So if the guys can't coach that out of him, this is another guy where it's going to be 4 years, your rookie deal's done. Thanks a lot for everything. If you can get another team, best of luck to you. But guys, that's my all hype defense. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Jadeveon Clowney there. I just remember all this hype of him. I don't know whether it was being traded or he was just which team he was going to sign with in free agency. A lot of people saying the Giants might pick him up. I am super glad that they did not pick him up. He signed way too much and got way too little production out of this dude. It's unfortunate. He's a very talented guy, so maybe he could bounce back, but recent years aren't filling me with a lot of hope. Jeff Okudah was a very interesting pick because he was like everybody was saying this is like the best corner in a long time. I think that whenever he was drafted, and then he just rookie cornerbacks, it's always going to be hard for them, but you just don't want to see them struggle as much as Jeff Okudah done, especially under a defensive minded head coach like Matt Patricia. And then CJ Mosley. The whole Jets saga. I kind of I feel like when you pick a Jets player, it like I did last time. It's just like shooting fish in a barrel because they are the Jets. They were under Adam Gase, so the whole thing is immediately gone to it's a farce. So,
and is he Greg Williams as your DC,
and Greg Williams as your DC, which is also another big disappointment for the Jets. Is he still on the Jets? I can't remember.
He is still on the roster. He is still on the roster.
Yeah, because I do remember them trying to trade him, and then I wasn't sure if they released him or not. And then, like you, I watched a lot of Jonathan Abrams in Hard Knocks, and he looked the part. He has a lot of skills. He's a hard hitter. You always like to see a hard hitter, but I think he did get injured in in preseason. He might have been one of the guys that got injured in preseason. Actually, now that we mentioned it, I don't know. He just he was highly drafted. He was highly sought after. Seemed like he had a lot of skills, but he can't stay on the field. And when he does stay on the field, he tends to do a lot of things wrong for a guy that was drafted so high.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney is, Daragh, congratulations, the quintessential all hype. Literally, every team in the league wanted this man. He could name his money. He did not perform well enough and still demands the same money over and over again. And every season he seems to find one sucker who's willing to go, oh, well, maybe he gets back to his original stats and we'll go. In fact, I think he's got hype leaking over from college ball, from that amazing hit in the bowl game against Michigan, where the helmet went flying. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. CJ Mosley, he got so unlucky, right? He was playing amazing. Like you said, he got dumped on an absolutely terrible defense. And when there's so many tackles you have to make, it's probably not a surprise that you don't make any of them. And he got paid a lot of money. He did obviously take the year out as well. That doesn't help for your hype, where when you add up the numbers that you see after your big move and they don't add up to what you're hoping to see. Look, we don't that's player health. We can see that, but like Daragh mentioned, even the year before that wasn't particularly fantastic. So that's a real struggle. Jeff Okudah absolutely came in, all the hype, didn't live up to it. He, of everyone we've named, has the most chance of eventually living up to the hype. The cornerbacks can take a long time to develop. It is very subtle skills and it is a big jump. But didn't his Ohio State teammate, was it Ward, was the other cornerback on that Ohio State team, and he got drafted as well, and I believe he did a lot better. I think he might have gone to the Browns, maybe.
Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward.
Yeah,
I believe they're the same year. I could be corrected on that. And then
I think Denzel Ward is a year before him, because they're trying to work out a new contract with him at the moment.
Gotcha. So. And Jonathan Abram, I think we've all picked essentially the exact same safety for all our all hype team.
It's an lads safety
who look great. They smash people. They come in like Sean Taylor, like burying people out of nowhere. But on the back end, they don't have any coverage skills or almost no coverage skills, and they are not worth the money that they're paid. And they struggle to be on the field and to contribute what their contract asks them to contribute. So once again, we're 3 for 3. I don't have any complaints about who's on this roster. And I think you could close your eyes and pick any of the guys off the 3 teams and be pretty tough to argue against most of them. I'll put it like that.
It's like them strong box safeties that are class at blitzing and stuff like that consistently just get teams wanting to pay them or trade for them, and then they're surprised when they've no pass coverage. It's like they were only watching highlight tapes of these dudes and don't have any actual like looking into the bad parts of them. No,
you're fully right, guys. That's it. That is it. I think, they see the YouTube highlights of all the sacks and all the tackles, and they're like, oh, but what's his coverage like? Doesn't matter. Look what he can do to the quarterback. Oh my God. He cleared him. But I think that's what it is too. But like you were saying, Fiona, I do think I do have high hopes for Jeff Okudah that he can recapture sort of college form and still make it in the NFL. But there was another player that I wanted to mention that who was a close second to Jeff Okudah, and that was AJ Boye. Remember the money he signed for goes, and then he was cut a year after?
That's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah. That one. And again, he was part of the Saxonville time, and he never really left until his contract ended, and then he got all that money with the Broncos, and I think he actually injured himself for a part of it too, and that was it, gone. Again, a victim of like the high Madden stats, and everyone thought he was better, I think, than he actually was. But